Previously on Rebuilding the Past.
Archaeologists are not builders. They argue about everything they've shown to them.
I know we will be criticised for what we've done.
Rick was the boss, and what Rick said when.
It's crisis time now. Butts' whole reputation is on the block.
It's not only reputation, I mean, I'd even say on one level it's survival.
It's Saturday, October the 4th, at Butser Ancient Farm in Hampshire. And after 18 months of blood, sweat, and a certain amount of tears, our Roman villa is almost complete. For the first time, we can begin to glimpse the revolution in architecture and design that the Romans introduced to our ancestors 2,000 years ago. Today, the villa will be shown to academics from across the country who are making their way down to Butser. Will it meet with their approval? The team are giving a feast to welcome them and have arrived at the crack of dawn to complete the finishing touches. They still feel they're up against it, just as they did when they started 18 months ago.
This is going to be the site of the main room of the house. Walls right up above us,
That's right.
ceiling all the way across the top,
Most definitely.
and a coloured mosaic underneath our feet.
Yes, indeed.
And we're going to get all that done in the next 3 or 4 months?
We're going to try. This is a really big challenge.
Yes.
Their original schedule was perhaps just a touch optimistic.
Will you walk me back in through that door in 3 months' time?
I'm going to say yes.
The underfloor heating system, which had already been built, should have given them a head start, but it proved a disaster and had to be ripped out. The British weather wasn't helpful either, and as 3 months became 6, the chairman of the trustees, Di Morgan Evans, was forced to put on his wellies and step into the breach.
1 month for that, another month for that, and then the end. So you could, in a month's time, at that rate, get the outer walls up to 8 feet.
Even our presenter became disillusioned.
I was promised a complete replica Roman villa by this date. Nice high walls, a red tile roof, and inside an almost operating hypercaust, and the floors ready to be laid for a mosaic. Instead, we've got this. Barely different from the first day.
And when his contract expired 6 months into the build, he declined to renew it. Christmas was not a happy time. Mel was fired, something that would happen another 2 times before the project finished.
Oh, I did find that fairly hard to take. I'm not sure anyone would.
The construction ground to a halt. Funds had run out and the whole project seemed as likely to reach the finish as a one-wheeled chariot.
We have ideas, but we just need some help.
No one looking in the entrails would have divined that a small, inexperienced team could survive bad weather, mutinies, cash crises, and still construct the first Romano-British villa for 1,600 years. But their trials aren't over yet. The experts will be arriving in a few hours to judge their work, and to woo them, Butser's kitchen is brought to life for the first time.
They're lovely, aren't they?
Sally Granger, a Roman chef, has created an authentic menu, perhaps a little too authentic. The guests may not be used to the Romans' favourite condiment, fish sauce.
It's wonderful stuff, Roman food. People somehow think that because it's got this strange fish sauce in it, it's going to be rotten and disgusting and fishy. Even when, for instance, you use fish sauce in a dessert, and tonight's dessert has got fish sauce
in it.
Yeah.
Is there a colour to this sauce, or it just... Have you got some somewhere?
There you go. Have a smell.
What is it?
Have a smell. Some food historians have the idea, I think, that it was anchovy paste. No.
Cabbage, fish sauce? I didn't know the Romans ate school dinners. This is more like it. Wild boar. Butser trustee Tim Concannon is supervising the roast.
That's not going to go any further in. Second one up.
Roast wild boar was a favourite Roman dish 2,000 years ago. But tonight, it's not just the boar that will be feeling the heat. Our build team will also have to face the fire. The invited academics won't spare their feelings, and our team are prepared for a possible roasting. Everybody's racing against time to finish the villa. 18 months of back-breaking work, and there's still so many finishing touches.
Still working away.
Right, how much space have we got in?
But the team shouldn't forget, theirs is a unique achievement.
The most important aspect of this is that it will be able to create for the average visitor a much clearer idea of what it was like to live in the average Roman villa in 4th century Britain than any paper reconstruction, any visit to the foundations, the excavated foundations of a Roman villa can ever do.
Flowers always help sell a property, and Lulu, a floral stylist, is helping the team to sell the villa to the experts.
I think that's perfect.
We must always remember that these were human beings, that they had their dinner parties, that they made love, they did all the things that we do. There were quarrels between young people and their parents. The whole of human life was here.
So the Romans had their personal problems, just as former project manager Rick Wilgoss did. For 8 months, he worked himself into physical and emotional exhaustion, and eventually he found the experience all too much.
Yeah, I'm very tired. I mean, the other week I did actually, in the end I collapsed. That's experimental archaeology and that's the life that I've chosen. I have to accept the sniping. And I felt the only way that I might save my marriage was to leave the project.
No one on the team has seen Rick since he left, and today's visit may be a bit awkward.
Hello, Mr. Terrell.
Long time no see, Rick.
Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. This is Rachel, my new partner. Trainee wife.
Pack it in.
Wow. 9 months on. When I last saw it.
Yeah, got there in the end.
How far up did you go with the masonry?
7 foot in the end.
Yep. Well impressed. Let's go and have a look. Chuff. It's pretty much
how you
what I thought it was going to end up.
Yeah. Blood, sweat and tears have still gone into it, by the way. In case you needed to know.
Would do. It's a hell of a lot of work. I'm sad that I missed out on all of this. People have said to me, you know, without you it would never have happened. So yeah, I feel part of it, and speaking with the build team's been good. You know, the guys have done a fantastic job. It wasn't easy at any time, and I'm proud of them. I'm proud of Christine for holding it all together. You know, poor Chris, I mean, she must have been pulling her hair out at times when funding got low and everything else. It's almost a miracle that the place has come together.
Down to the mosaics have been the last thing.
Yeah.
I mean, just learnt so much again about
so they were
that.
turned out.
We did
yesterday,
it.
was it
We
turned
finished
out?
it this morning.
This morning?
Yes.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. Brilliant. Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Superb. Absolutely superb.
I'm glad you came.
I'm glad I've come. So a little bit nervous and a little bit emotional as well, actually, about coming back. But,
Well, it's bound to be.
no, it's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
The evening hasn't even started, and already Rick's visit has put the team through the emotional ringer. But it's going to get worse. Today's guests will be some of Britain's leading Roman experts, and they're not going to pull any punches.
Now, I'd just like to see whether my reaction when I first see it is, oh my God, this is so obviously an early 21st century attempt at a Roman villa. It doesn't look like what I imagine to be the real thing at all. Or is it, wow, I think that's really great.
There are always going to be individuals who have strong views about certain things, and I certainly, if I turn up and find that you've got a closed-in, grim little corridor on the front, will be a little bit upset and argue about it.
If I arrive at Butser and I see what is effectively a cricket pavilion, then I'm going to be very disappointed, because it means that not enough questions are being asked as to how that building worked.
It's the day of the big feast. Butser's chairman has invited some of Britain's most renowned academics to judge the villa, but they're arriving an hour early.
Shadler Hall, come and save my modesty.
And Di isn't even dressed yet. The man who rescued the project is about to go from chairman to Roman.
We need to get that along there. That lifts up.
Yes.
That goes over there like that. I've got some pictures up for you for your archive. Some nice sort of patrician folds, you see. This is David Neal.
Have I met you, Charlotte?
I think we may have met, yes.
Because I'm a Northern Briton. Alright. This is the one the rain dropped off when it was pouring down with rain and I couldn't see because it was...
I think the wristwatch also.
Oh, sorry, the wristwatch. Well, I haven't got any pockets. Oh, God. Yeah, sorry.
Looking very, very imperial. Have I come to an emperor's villa?
Oh, of course. Well, well, I've got the gold rings.
Can I see the signet, please?
Well, I'm afraid not. It's got rubbed off.
The man who's in the green jacket.
Professor Roger.
Oh, he's Roger Wilson.
Is it? Yes, yes.
Oh, that's the man.
Yes.
Right. So what do you think of
No,
it?
please don't record that. That's not fair. To people I don't know.
While Christine runs an eye over her judges, Sally Granger runs her eye over the final preparations for the main course.
I love the smell of boar.
Smell of roast boar.
Can you reach it without
I
setting
think
light to
so.
yourself?
I think so. Let me. Actually, it's...
Yeah, we can eat it.
Yeah.
He's good.
Oh, he is. He's got some flavour.
Lovely.
He has strength.
Is it perfection, madam?
Oh, beautiful.
Well, it looks like the roast will pass muster, but will the building? Originally, the villa was going to have an open veranda at the front, but during the course of construction, things changed.
All of these buildings seem to be modelled around a Mediterranean design, which we don't feel works in this country.
Is that because of the climate or the conditions on the ground?
It's got a lot to do with the climate. The climate in this country is, yes, very similar to what it is now.
Yeah.
But of course, in the winter months, having an open veranda, you're going to walk straight out of any one of the rooms, and you're going to be walking straight out into the wet and cold.
After much debate, the villa was built with a closed corridor, and on a chilly October day like today, it seems to make sense. But it was the last thing one of our experts wanted to see. Is Dominic Perrin convinced by the final design?
Either I was right in your case, or I got it wrong and I'm now converted.
I quite like the portico facade. I know it's not a full portico, and I kind of thought it would be porticos.
Oh, right, so this the corridor rather than the veranda.
Yeah, and I think it works. I thought it wouldn't.
Yes.
And I quite like that.
But it's not just the corridor that caused debate at Butser.
Do you like our Doorbell waffle?
Again, what I've been saying really before is if it works, then it's a possibility.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work, then you can forget it.
But why, when they were doing it, they find it so much easier doing horizontal? And yet, at Verulamium, you've got vertical.
You can get anybody to do it. You can get your slaves to do it.
Yeah,
And if it was difficult, then you forget it because the slaves would spend days doing it. That's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah.
It'll get done eventually. But obviously, the horizontal works easier because the gravity is pulling it down to the horizontal. And it's not slipping through. I think slaves are the answer to anything
Slaves the
difficult.
answer. But I look around these walls, and I think when you've seen them finished, you just can't think that every flint has been individually selected and positioned, and you just look to leave that. I think that they've done the really sensible thing in leaving the one wall.
Yeah, see what it's like.
To see what it's like, yeah.
There must have been hundreds and hundreds of villas just like this, with a rendering all over rendering. I mean, the colour is right for the dado.
That lower bit.
That lower
is
piece. That's.
And then red for the blocks of ash, even though we make them smaller when we redo it.
Yes, I'm sure that will be perfect. That's perfectly right.
And you like
a couple of pilasters. I would like to see a couple of pilasters
to balance up for the portico.
Yes. A couple of engaged columns there would look right.
So far, things are going well, but as Dominic sees more of the villa, he seems to be having second thoughts.
I would have personally gone for something with columns, I would have really. But this does work too. It still gives you that dialogue between inside and outside, and it works. So, yeah, that was... The wall paintings a bit lively. We don't have an awful lot of figurative mosaics from Britain, and when you do, they tend to be meaningful, mythological scenes, arguments. Whereas here it's just entertaining, but it's not... I wouldn't quite go for them myself.
So there are questions about the wall paintings, and Dominic is prepared to go for the kill. But Christine may have a bigger problem. David Neal is the leading expert on mosaics, and when he saw Butts' first design, he was not impressed.
You may have guilloche like this in 1st century Fishbourne, but you do not have it on 4th century mosaics. So this guilloche has got to be reduced by at least 4 inches or 3 inches.
After David's vocal criticism, the original mosaicist left the project, and Christine was forced to take over at short notice. David, as we know, is something of a perfectionist.
Let it set, then polish it, and I think you'll find if it's done very carefully, you may be able to get it looking better.
I was wondering, you know, even considering actually taking it up and bedding it again in a better.
Well, I think
mortar
that
to start
of
with.
course is what you should be doing. Yes,
Yes.
but I wasn't sure how much time you've got and determination.
I'm fairly determined.
The experts may have reservations, but at least they're not sticking the knife in.
There are no knives and forks because the dishes have been prepared in an appropriate manner, in fact to be eaten either with the set spoon or with the instruments which God gave us.
When the Romans arrived in Britain, they brought with them remarkable foodstuffs the Iron Age Celts had never seen before: lemons, garlic, onions. The Romans enjoyed their Sunday roast, but even wild boar can't put our experts off the scent of an argument. Having seen the ceiling of the hypocaust room, they are launching into a good old-fashioned debate about the height of your average Roman.
And I think the Wall's End bathhouse is equally too high. It's built for a race of giants. Romans were much shorter than we were.
You've got a big space and it's got a very low ceiling. It just feels wrong. The proportion.
Well, maybe the practicalities of heating too. One has to think about.
That feels cosy.
I'm not suggesting. No, this is fine. But some of the buildings I've seen reconstructed, I think, are too high.
Well, Dominic is dying to say that. It's just that we've got things like the Boscoriale Villa reconstruction, and based on the real thing, these are comparatively tall ceilinged compared to these sorts of things. And so, you know, we've got good evidence of higher ceilinged, private, small.
Yes, in Italy and some of the really grand places. The question is, you know, can we transfer here to England, to Britain?
Everyone aspires to be grand, as it were. Why would somebody here sit and make themselves look like pygmies?
Well, in the same way, they didn't actually put a veranda on the front, because that would have been, in theoretical classical terms, far grander, because they're being very practical, and in that case, they want to be warm.
The arguments will continue into the night, and probably for a lot longer. The fact that the villa prompts more questions than it answers is what experimental archaeology is all about. 18 months into the project and 3 hours into the feast, and Di and the team are finally beginning to get some feedback, and they're savouring the verdicts.
Roger Wilson walked into the winter dining room and said, "Great, you got it low. People have..." And Dominic says, "No, you've got to have it high because the proportions are all wrong." And so, you know, we have two leading building experts totally disagreeing, which is quite nice. Absolutely, absolutely.
Friends and Romans, I must apologise that at this stage of the meal we would have had an entertainment for you. Corinthian flute players had been booked, but alas, they were on another booking, and double booking meant that they couldn't come to our flat-pack Roman villa.
The flute players may have gone AWOL, but certain members of the build team can hold a crowd just as well.
Well, happy too is he who knows the gods of the countryside.
Indeed.
Knows old Dave, Stevis, Jonathan, and the sister nymphs.
The feast, in my eyes, really was just like a big celebration. We'd worked so hard, and it was just really nice. Just show it off, really. We had so many people around there, and it sort of really felt nice to walk around really proud and say, like, you know, we built this.
Now these things he has never seen.
The farmer who cleaves the land with his curved plough. This is his year-long work.
I do go home sometimes and laugh at myself and think, right, I haven't climbed Everest, I haven't swum the Channel, but I've been one of the people that have helped build the first Roman villa in 1600 years. That bit, I think, is still sinking in it. Like, sometimes just to sit there and stare at it, I just can't believe that we have actually achieved it.
His herds, his trusty bullocks, and the goat named Toast.
Yes, it was quite weird. I mean, there've been so many times when we've sat there with walls this high and people saying, you know, oh, this isn't really going to happen, is it? So to get to that stage was very strange. It looked quite surreal, and all the smells from the kitchen and the people talking, and It felt like a home.
Embracing 7 hills with a single wall.
Well done, Rose.
Cheers.
Cheers.
At last, the team can celebrate. The verdict is in, and they've succeeded. No one is more relieved than Christine Shaw, Butzer's director.
Yes, a sense of achievement. I suppose my own personal achievement as well as what we've achieved as a group. Because, I mean, I'd never in my wildest dreams ever thought I could build anything, never mind a Roman villa. But it's also the fascination. It just gets hold of you. And there are so many questions I think we need to answer. But I'd just like to finish by thanking you all. Really, everybody here this evening has had a part to play in this villa. And I think it's a sense of achievement of us all. And thank you all very much.
There were those who thought we were not up to doing it academically, and there were those who thought that we couldn't do it physically in terms of the actual build, and there were those who thought it couldn't be done at all, and there were those who actually, unfortunately, and there are very few of them, I don't think particularly wanted us to do it. But we done it. I'd like first of all to thank those who had faith in us, the build team and the volunteers. They're the ones who actually did the work. Flint by deleted flint, the way it's gone up here. Bits of, daub by deleted daub has gone up there. It is brilliant, and our real thanks have got to go to those who put the building up.
The villa, I thought, looked absolutely wonderful. All the statues outside, the box hedging. It was just amazing what we managed to achieve between us. At the end of it, I feel I've learned a lot, but not so much that I'd ever want to do it again. No.
In my archaeological career, I'd certainly say it's one of my high points. I mean, it's always difficult to measure these things, absolutely. It was an unforgettable experience. No, it is an unforgettable experience because it's still there and going on. I mean, that's the great thing about this compared to some other archaeological programs. We've actually left something there which is almost permanent, which will be of great benefit for a very long time.
It took 18 months, 500,000 flints, 4,500 roof tiles, 15,000 mosaic cubes, and the marriages, jobs and dedication of a heroic team. In October 2003, Britain's first authentic Roman villa in a millennium and a half was finally completed. The past was rebuilt and now stands for the future.